Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News on 3FM. My name is Beatrice Adu. The news is also live on Kesmi 107.1 FM and across the world at 3news.com. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. PURC bites, asking ECG to pay almost 6 million Ghana cedis in fine for failing to comply with earlier issued directives. The Commission has also given the ECG up to the end of this month to pay over 400 million cedis to service providers in the power supply chain. We'll bring you details. Also this afternoon, Rotational Nurses and Midwives Association defies a heavy rains to demonstrate over unpaid allowances and non-posting of members. Much later on this program, it's Judgment Day for former CEO of Maslock, Sedina Tamaklo, and the second accused who are standing trial for willfully causing financial loss to the state. Plus, commercial drivers in Western Region remain defiant against the directive by the Transport Ministry to reverse an upward adjustment in fares. Thank you very much for joining us. We warned you, and yet you failed to comply with our directives. Well, we are by this letter letting you know that we at the Public Utilities and Regulatory Commission have decided to impose a fine of 5.8 million cedis on you. In addition, you are to comply with that directive to pay all service providers in the power production chain over 400 million cedis by the end of this month. That's the summary of the letter given to the Electricity Company of Ghana to comply with directives on its service provision. You would recall that the Commission last month asked the ECG to, among other things, publish load management timetable and pay all service providers under the cash waterfall mechanism established earlier. The PRC, in a letter dated yesterday, the 15th of April 2024, said that the ECG failed to comply with a number of directives, including providing load management timetable and implementing fully the cash waterfall mechanism. Here are some of the points in that letter. Submission of details of all bank accounts and investment accounts currently operated by ECG not complied. Compliance with cash waterfall mechanism through payment of allocation of tariff revenue as prescribed and allocated by the CWM committee was partially complied and therefore seen as non-compliance. ECG is yet to pay the shortfalls from August 2023 to February 2024. Now, submission of copies of ECG publications informing general public of power outages from January 1, 2024 to date not complied. The PRC also said that the ECG lied about lightouts that it claimed were attributed to overloaded transformers. The Commission said that, quote, of these 647 outage incidents, only 3 were planned outages relating to transformers. The analysis showed that the majority of the outages between 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. were as a result of load management operations by Gridco and faults unrelated to overloaded transformers. ECG's attribution of the outages between 7 p.m. and 11 p.m. to transformer overload was therefore not factually accurate, unquote, and said the Commission was still investigating the circumstances of these lightouts. It went on to talk about the decision the Commission had taken as a result of the non-compliance by the ECG. And I'll just go on and read a bit of them to you. Now, it says, based on the above findings and statutory provisions, the Commission has determined as follows. So allocation of tariff revenue collected. It says, in addition to honoring its ongoing obligations under the cash waterfall mechanism, ECG shall pay the amount of 446,283,000 cedis, and the figures go on. It goes on to talk about monthly bank statements and says that for failure to submit details of all bank accounts to the Commission by the stated date, the Commission hereby imposes an initial regulatory charge of 3,000 penalty units on ECG in accordance with Regulation 45 of LI 2413. I'll just read the last bit to you. It talks about, so the fine of 5.868 million cedis. And then goes on to say the board members of ECG in office between January 1 to 18 March 2024 shall pay the regulatory charge of 5,868,000 cedis into a dedicated fuel account under the joint control of the Ministry of Energy and the Ministry of Finance on or before the 30th of May 2024. So those were some details coming from the PURC. I'm joined by Nana Mwese VII. He's the Executive Director of the Institute for Energy Security. Good afternoon to you, sir. Thank you for joining us on the Midday News.
Good afternoon to you, Beatrice. Thanks for having me.
The PRC is biting. You must be impressed.
Definitely. And the board and management of the ECG are being punished because of their recalcitrant behavior, and we support the punishment.
The PRC has stated that indeed it is backed by legislative instruments to impose sanctions on the Electricity Company of Ghana. From where you sit and studying the system for some time now, how do you anticipate things to unfold in the coming days?
Well, for once in our life, we found a PRC that is more proactive than reactive. And so they gave a clear indication many weeks ago to the ECG, backing their request to ECG by laws and by regulations that mandates them to act on same, and requested of them to put out those information, very vital to the PRC and also to Ghanaians. But they failed to do so. They've come back and stated clearly that it's the leadership of the ECG that were stubborn, and by that they didn't abide by the rules and principles of engagement with a regulator. Hence the punishment. We believe that the PRC will exact this, if I call it punishment, or this charges to the latter.
You believe, some others doubt. They think that the PRC probably may just be, painting this picture to us that it is working and not necessarily go through with these, because, like I said, we've been in the system for some time.
Doubts are also allowed and permitted. It also gives pressure on the PRC that some section of Ghanaians will tell you in the phrase that PRC you cannot do a hoot. But then that throws a challenge to them for them to act. So that is also allowed, and it's okay. Let's see. The days are just ahead of us, not far. Let's see how things pan out. But we believe that they will exact the punishment.
What is coming through is just a part of the big problem, really, moving forward. How do you suggest we deal with these challenges at hand?
Of course, it's just the beginning, because in PRC's own statement, it states that some of the charges, if they fail to pay at a certain point in time or certain date, every month, that same payment will have to, be made to the PRC. And so we believe that we have interesting days ahead of us. However, the cogent issue still persists with us, that we have outages and that we must address these outages. That's the most important thing. We rather expect of the Ministry of Energy to engage with the finance ministry, look for money enough to procure fuel for the plants that are idle to come on stream, and for those that are also down for maintenance purposes to also hurriedly come on stream, so that we can put our head above the water. Then we can deal with the other issues that are peripheral.
Would that not be adding to our debt already? Why won't the ECG recoup whatever is due it?
Yes, that's also another thing that we can do. But in the meantime, while the ECG is mobilizing their own revenue, going around the country to do same, this is what we expect, that we can't wait for the ECG before we can have light. We know it's a generational problem at this moment for lack of fuel. Ministry of Finance must intervene so that we also push the ECG to go and collect their revenue and ensure that it's enough to cover the cost incurred within the value chain.
Briefly before you go, if you are in the position to advise the Electricity Company of Ghana and the board members who are going to be sanctioned or have been sanctioned in this, what would you tell them?
Henceforth, be forthright with Ghanaians and play by the rules of engagement. Respect your regulator. Don't be distracted by any political actors, because at the end of the day, you are accountable to Ghanaians within the distribution ambit of the power sector.
Here. Thank you very much. Nana Mwasie the seventh. He's the executive director of the Institute for Energy Security. Thank you for sharing those analyses with us. Now, hundreds of unemployed nurses have defied the heavy rains in Accra to march to the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Finance, and to Parliament, where they plan to register their displeasure regarding 9 months of unpaid allowances. The group, comprising members of the 2023 batch of the Rotational Nurses and Midwives Association, alongside with unemployed nurses, are also asking for immediate postings. The group now, amidst the downpour, they converged at the entrance of the Greater Accra Regional Hospital, the starting point of their march. Godwin Asidiba has been with them, joins us on the line with some more. Godwin, why are you currently with the nurses, and what more can you report on this?
All right, Beatrice. I am currently at the Parliament House. It is still drizzling here, so the atmosphere is still quite cloudy. But you can see some of the nurses comprising of the members of the 2023 batch of the Rotational Nurses and Midwifery Association, alongside with the Unemployed Nurses. Now, they are drumming home the need for their allowances to be paid to them. Talking about the Rotational Nurses and Midwives, they haven't been paid for 9 months now. And they say they would have to go to work daily, thinking of how they'll be able to afford for transportation, not even talking about other challenges that come their way. For those who have not been employed since 2020, we've heard from the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives that since 2020, the government has not employed most of the nurses and midwives who have completed exactly what they're supposed to do in school before they proceed into becoming professionals. And this is really disturbing. So these two have come together to drum home the need for their grievances to be addressed. Firstly, we walked from the Greater Accra Regional Hospital where they convened, and then we moved straight from there to the Ministry of Health where they presented their petition. And now they have assured them that they will be able to address their issues after going through a thorough discussions with the right people. From there, we walked straight to the Parliament House where we are at the moment. We've been told that proceedings are on hold at the moment, and the Speaker of Parliament is not around, so someone was meant to take it on behalf of them. So at the moment, we've all been dispersed currently within the premises of the Parliament House, but the petition has been presented to them. Basically, they want their allowances resorted or solved so that they can be able to be paid, so that they can be doing their work with more happiness and comfortability. And for those who have also been unemployed since 2020, they are demanding immediate employment.
Oh, ended here. Thank you very much. Godwin Asidiba reporting live. He is with a group of nurses, unemployed nurses, who are protesting unpaid salaries and the fact that some of them have not been posted yet. Now, the Financial and Economic Division of the High Court in Accra is this afternoon set to deliver judgment in the case in which former Chief Executive Officer of the Microfinance and Small Loans Center, Sedina Christian Tamaklo Ationu, and interdicted head of operations are still standing trial. We'll continue to bring you details of the story, but let's return to our story about the ECG PRC surcharging the electricity company of Ghana. I'm joined by Dr. Eric Obute. He's Director of Research and Corporate Affairs at the PRC. Good afternoon to you, Doc. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good afternoon, Beatrice, and thanks for having me.
So you've come through with your threat to sanction the electricity company of Ghana following your detailed statement and report earlier. Some are doubting that indeed you go through to implement these 5.8 million and the rest. How do you respond to these?
Thank you very much. I want to correct the impression that it's a threat. We don't issue threats. PRC does not issue threats.
So those were directives in those earlier statements, right?
Yes, but we were not threats. So we just issued an order. And ECG was supposed to have come back to us with some data, which data they brought. They brought some data. We did some analysis and followed it up with a further directive. So that's all that we have done this time round. We have just taken the data that ECG submitted to us, analyzed the data, and our findings is what we brought up in another order.
And you expect the ECG and the board members, like you stated in that statement, to pay up or cough up the 5.8 million cedis latest by the 30th of this month?
No, that one is supposed to be the latest by the 30th of May. There are about 3 different orders in there. The 30th of this month has to do with the cash waterfall mechanism. The money for the cash waterfall mechanism, ECG declared and said this is what they have collected, and they gave it to, they declared it at the cash waterfall committee level. The committee took it and said this is how much ECG has collected and shared or allocated the money to each of the sector players. The sector players, according to the records that we have as a PRC, indicate that they have not had the full benefit of the amount that was allocated to them. So all we are saying in that particular one is that by the 30th of this month, the money which ECG said they have collected and declared to the committee, they should actually make good payments to the sector players. So that's supposed to be the 30th of this month.
So let's talk about the 5.8 million. I've spoken...
The 5.8 million comes at the end of May.
Yes.
That's when they're supposed to, yes.
Yes, I've spoken to a member of the board of ECG, and his argument is that when there's an issue, it has to be the chair who needs to respond to these. How do you respond to that and the fact that in your statement, you asked that the individual members should be held accountable for this?
Well, the board member you spoke to was a board member of ECG. And I also don't speak for the board of PURC. So I'm only communicating the decision of the board of PURC to the public. So maybe at the board level, board of PURC, board of ECG, then they can handle it at that level. But I cannot speak to that particular issue as we speak now.
So we have deadlines, end of this month, end of May. What happens if at the end of these timelines, ECG has been unable to comply with all of these?
Well, when we get to that bridge, we'll cross it. But I believe the commissioners have something. There are different ways that they can hold ECG to account. But I also do believe that the members of the board of ECG are very respectable, knowledgeable, law-abiding citizens of the land. And PURC is only working with the law. So if you see, throughout the order, we've been quoting the law. So we want to believe that they would have good cause to abide by the law. But in case they have any grievances, obviously there are windows open to the members of the board of the ECG to communicate their grievances to the commission or to have them addressed.
Thank you very much, Dr. Eric Osabote, Director of Research and Corporate Affairs at the Dr. Eric Obute, Director of Research and Corporate Affairs at the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission. I was telling you about the story of 2 individuals who are standing trial for willfully causing financial loss to the state, and currently at the Financial and Economic Division of the High Court in Accra. And that Court is set to deliver judgment in the case in which the former Chief Executive Officer of the Microfinance and Small Loans Center, MASLOC, Sedina Christine Tamaklo Ationu, and interdicted head of operations, Daniel Axim, are standing trial. Now, the two were charged for, among other things, willfully causing financial loss to the Republic through their actions. The former CEO of MASLOC, Mrs. Ationu Tamaklo, and David Axim had both pleaded not guilty to a combined 78 charges before the court, presided over by Justice Efiasewa Saributwe, a justice of the Court of Appeal, sitting at as an additional High Court judge. And we'll be bringing you latest from the court. The court is currently in session, and as soon as we have details, we'll bring you that. Now, Chairman of the Public Accounts Committee of Parliament, James Klucha-Veji, says a failure by the Attorney General to prosecute government agencies and institutions cited for financial malfeasance by the Auditor General's report is demoralizing and derailing the effort of Parliament to protect the public purse. At a committee sitting in Tamale, the chairman urged the various agencies and institutions to implement recommendations made by the committee to protect their image.
It really affects my work. I said it earlier on, it demoralizes members of the committee because we don't have the power to do what is not being done. The power we have is limited to, if we look at the case, we know that the government has a good case, and for that matter, the people have flouted the law and they need to be punished. It is the duty of the Attorney General to do that. So I will only urge the officials of Parliament to do the right thing by communicating decisions of Parliament, especially in relation to the Public Accounts Committee, to the appropriate context for action against the agencies that have flouted the law. For the new infractions in terms of procurement, we will only admonish them if the institutions get to know that, look, the committee come to make a pronouncement, nothing is being done. It's rather going to worsen the situation. They will know that we will do it, we will appear before the committee will say, we will prosecute you, but no action will be taken.
And you heard the chairman of the Public Accounts Committee of Parliament, James Klucha-Veji. Christopher Mwako is at Miriam Hotel where the sitting is taking place. He joins us live now. Christopher, I believe the sittings started yesterday. Can you walk us through what has happened so far?
Yes, so Beatrice, yesterday when the committee sat, some technical universities from the Northern and Upper East regions, including teacher training colleges, were appeared before the committee. So Baga College of Education, Tamale Technical University, and the Bolga Technical University all appeared before the committee. And as cited in the Auditor General's report, some of them had some procurement infractions. And so even though some of them actually adhered to the recommendations of the committee when they previously met, and also the recommendations of the Auditor General, they have, as it were, rectified some of the infractions, but others have not. And for the chairman of the committee, they are unable to make further recommendations for their prosecution because the Public Accounts Committee does not have that power to prosecute. So it's the Attorney General that will do so. Unfortunately, there has been some back and forth with the Attorney General's department because the Attorney General, the ministry, is saying that they do not receive reports from the committee or from Parliament, and so they are unable to also prosecute. So for the chairman, this is derailing their efforts in getting the public purse protected.
Thank you very much. Christopher Marco reporting live from the northern region. Now, the opposition National Democratic Congress has called out the government for what it describes as a discreet move towards recommissioning of the Ameri power plant. The president is set to unveil the first phase of 250 thermal power plant to ensure power stability in that part of the country, which is the Shanti region. To the NDC, renaming the Ameri power plant is an indictment on the current administration administration, also alleging that it is soaked in corruption. Meanwhile, the government tracker recently launched by the governing MPP has come under scrutiny from former President John Mahama, who is challenging the ruling party to take lessons from his Green Book of infrastructure projects done under his administration. Speaking in Nanlergo as part of his tour of the northeast region, John Mahama said that there is no single project captured in the Green Book that does not exist.
My children, you don't have to be sorry. They didn't deceive you alone. They deceived the whole of Ghana. So it's not you alone. So don't worry, you know. They packaged themselves nicely, made all kinds of promises, and today all those promises are broken. They've come with something they call a performance tracker, and they are retracting some of the things. They say 67 were put in error, and the performance tracker has things that district assemblies should be doing. Toilet. We built a toilet here. We built a toilet there. You know, when we published our Green Book was evidence-based. And every single thing you see in the Green Book exists, and we have done it here in Ghana. They can go and take the Green Book. I challenge the media, go and take the Green Book and show me one project in the Green Book that does not exist. We didn't have to retract anything. They found it was solid, so they came and said that, oh, we went to Dubai and took pictures. University of Ghana Medical Center, they say it's a hospital in Dubai. We went and took the pictures and came and put it in the Green Book. Today, when they are sick, they go to the University of Ghana Medical Center for treatment.
Now, John Mahama is also challenging the government to show evidence of infrastructure works done in the north-east home region of the flag bearer, Dr. Mahmoud Baumia.
In 2016, if we divided the debt, if we all decided that we're going to pack our bags and leave Ghana, and so let's share the debt, everybody should pay his, and then we will go. If we divided the debt, all of us would have paid 4,000 cedis. Today, if we say we're going to divide the debt, all of us are giving Ghana up, we'll all pay our debts, and then we'll go. And so we're going to share the debt for everybody to pay. Every one of you here owes 20,000 cedis. Point even is, the Eurobond alone, in 6 years, the president's cousin, the finance minister, borrowed $13.5 billion. And if we had seen highways, we had seen bridges, we had seen regional hospitals, we had seen universities, schools, water, electricity, we'll say that that money was well spent.
That was former President John Mahama, who is also the flag bearer of the opposition NDC. Commercial drivers in the Western region have called the bluff of the Transport Ministry over a directive to reverse transport fare increment or risk police arrest. The ministry had cautioned drivers against arbitrary fare increment as stakeholder negotiations are still ongoing. It follows a decision by some driver unions in the country to hike fares following the recent increase in fuel prices and other related operational costs. Well, members of the Concerned Drivers Association tell 3FM they will not back down on the fare increment. David Adu is the spokesperson for the association.
If a minister issue a memo telling the police that they should arrest us, we will still take it and will continue to take it. We should come from where he is going hidden and then come out from his shelf and come and face it. We are transporters. We buy the parts, we buy the fuel, we buy the insurance, we buy the DVLA paper to work with. We don't buy it to give it out because we are not a charity organization. We are transport operators and profit-driven organizations.
You heard there David Adu. He's the spokesperson for the Concerned Drivers Association. And that's how we end the news here on 3FM. Our top stories. PURC bites asking ECG to pay almost 6 million cedis in fine for failing to comply with earlier issued directives. The Commission has also given the ECG up to the end of this month to pay over 400 million cedis to service providers in the power supply chain. We brought you some details and analysis. Also, rotational nurses and midwives association defy heavy rains to demonstrate over unpaid allowances and non-posting of members. Plus, judgment day for former CEO of Maslock, Sedina Tamaklo, and a second accused who was standing trial for willfully causing financial loss to the state. My name is Beatrice Adu. Thank you very much for joining us today. Log on to 3news.com for more news. Have a good afternoon.
Gets busy on this frequency. 92.7 3FM.
Follow us on social media. Twitter at 3FM927. Facebook at 3FM927. And also on 3news.com.
Good afternoon and welcome to Business Daily with me, Menu Afol. Coming up, financial services sector continues to lead the chart as most vulnerable to cyber attacks. We'll hear from Director General of the Cybersecurity Authority.
That was 2023. It was 60 million Ghana cedis where the losses recorded. But let me emphasize here, these are just direct reports.
Also, LPG marketers kick against 1 cedi 20 pesos tax amidst drop in consumption as prices rise.
And the ordinary poor consumer is going to pay for this tax. We see this as highly unfortunate. The timing is so wrong.
Plus, energy consultants makes a case for proactive measures as fuel prices are expected to jump by 5%.
We need a paradigm shift in our energy policies that we champion. You can't continue to be over-reliant on external sources in terms of your energy needs and expect to have independence.
I am Menu Afo. We'll bring you the details of our headlines and many other stories shortly. So much for your time. Now, in an era marked by escalating cyber threats, Ghana's financial services sector continues to remain the primary target, facing heightened vulnerability to cyber attacks. According to Director General of the Cybersecurity Authority, Dr. Albert Nchibwesiako, in 2023 alone, the sector recorded in excess of 60 million cedis losses through the direct reports alone, a situation he describes as worrying and threatens the sector's against. He was addressing the media as the West African Symposium on Sector Collaboration and Information Sharing organized by his outfit here in Accra.
Yes, they're working with the central bank, for example, deploying the security operations system. The banks are reporting incidents, and fairly, if you look at the statistics, the fraud statistics being produced by the Bank of Ghana, there is a reduction of losses. Don't look at the number of attacks recorded, attempted attacks. They will happen. As we expand the network environment, digital devices, we'll see the numbers actually increasing. So we should look more of the losses, how we preventing some of these losses. The full year, that was 2023, was 60 million Ghana cedis where the losses recorded. But let me emphasize here, these are just direct reports that are received by the national set, the usual 292. So these are in aggregate small volumes. aggregating into what 60 million. We have not aggregated yet the losses that are received from cases reported to Yoko, the CID, Bank of Ghana. I think we haven't been able to integrate the statistical collection of this incident and associated losses. So this.
Well, Dr. Albert Nchi-Boesiakon is Director General of the Cybersecurity Authority. In more stories, Ghana's plan to restructure $13 billion in debt hit a snag as international bondholders reject the government's offer. Both sides disagreed on key terms, setting back the country's efforts to escape its debt crisis. The following news desk report has more.
Bondholders wanted interest rates to rise with faster economic growth above IMF targets. Ghana opposed this, fearing higher debt burdens. Bondholders sought a clause that would restore regional bond values if Ghana defaulted again. Ghana disliked this as it limited the ability to manage future debt. Limitations on Ghana's legal options in disputes were also rejected. The option with no principal reduction had a very low 1.5% interest rate, making it less appealing. The proposed deal offered significantly reduced value bonds at 33% haircut, with lower interest rates of 5% to 6.5%. The option with no principal reduction had a very low 1.5% interest rate, making it less appealing. Ghana will revise the debt proposal to meet IMF's debt sustainability requirements. Discussions with bondholders are expected to resume at the IMF World Bank spring meetings. An interim debt relief deal exists, but needs adjustment to comply with IMF limits. Overall, the failed negotiations pose a challenge to Ghana's economic recovery. Both sides need to find common ground to achieve a sustainable debt solution.
And that was a 3 Business Desk report. And day 2 unfolds at the 2024 spring meetings of the World Bank Group and the International Monetary Fund in Washington, D.C., U.S., along with ancillary events. These meetings feature the joint World Bank IMF Development Committee and the IMF's International Monetary and Financial Committee sessions. The outcome of these meetings hold critical importance amid Ghana's ongoing IMF Extended Credit Facility Program. My colleague Pakwesi Asare joins us live from Washington, D.C. on today's agenda. Thank you very much for your time, Pa. What are we to expect from the spring meetings today?
Hello, Menu. So I'm reporting live from Washington, D.C., and as I intimated yesterday, the spring meetings of the World Bank and the IMF has just started. Yesterday was the registration day, and hundreds of central bank governors, finance ministers, and representatives from civil society groups are gathered here in Washington for the spring meetings of the World Bank and the IMF. A delegation from Ghana is also here, headed by the finance minister, Dr. Mohamed Amin Adams. We also have the central bank governor, Dr. Ernest Addison. There are also a number of ministers and MPs who are gathered here representing Ghana for the spring meetings of the World Bank and the IMF. The meetings are going to start a bit serious today. Later on today, we have the World Economic Outlook report, which will be launched by the World Bank and the IMF. And then later, there's going to be another session which is on the theme Understanding Sovereign Debt in Africa, the Options and Opportunities. Later also, we're going to have the launch of the Global Financial Stability Report by the World Bank and the IMF. You can trust 3 Business to bring you the very latest updates on all these meetings live from Washington, D.C. Pakwesi Asare reporting for 3 Business.
Well, that was my colleague Pakwesi Asare reporting live from Washington, D.C. on today's agenda. In more stories, a recent study by the Institute for Energy Security on pricing trends of liquefied petroleum gas in Ghana has revealed that consumption dropped by 4.47% from 2020 to 2023. This suggests a potential shift in consumer behavior compared to a steady increase of 6.43% usage between 2016 and 2019. The cost per kilogram of LPG more than doubled between January 2020 to December 2023, increasing by 116% compared to the previous 4 years increase of 57%. The IES findings highlight the complex relationship between LPG affordability and consumption in Ghana. Vice President of LPG Marketers Association of Ghana, Gabriel Kumi, is worried an additional 1 cedi 20 pesos tax imposed on a kilogram of the product will worsen the situation.
This is the highest tax ever placed on LPG. Dangerous in the sense that it's dollar denominated. What that simply means is that the 1 cedi 20 pesos you are seeing today is not the end of it. What that further means is that when our cedi weakens against the dollar, you expect to pay more of these taxes. So if, for instance, tomorrow or the next 3 months, the dollar has shoot up to, let's say, 15 cedis per the dollar, what that will mean is that that tax is going to move from 1 cedi 20 pesos to about 1 cedi 30 pesos. So the weaker the cedi becomes, the more the ordinary poor consumer is going to pay for this tax. We see this as highly unfortunate. The timing is so wrong. You don't put taxes on the product when the world price of LPG is going up. We believe MPA got it so wrong, and at this juncture we will appeal to them to take a second look and take a retreat so that the consumer can enjoy some respite.
That was Vice President of LPG Marketers Association of Ghana, Gabriel Kumi. Before we go, energy consultant Dr. Yusuf Sulemana is arguing for a proactive approach to tackle escalating fuel costs in the country. And now this comes in light of the Institute of Energy Security projecting a potential 5% rise in fuel prices in the upcoming days.
This projection by the IES follows a recent increase earlier this month, which has ignited discussions regarding a probable surge in transport fares nationwide.
The city is currently on a downward trend, and this is about the 8th time it has been on the low since the year started. And so for us, with city depreciating, with geopolitical tension pushing crude oil prices up, with international refined products seeing prices of petrol and diesel go up, putting these factors together and pegging it against the policy decisions that came from the MPA last window, we see that prices are likely to still inch up by some 5% for petrol, 4% for diesel.
Expressing his stance, Dr. Yusuf Sulemana emphasizes the necessity for the government to pragmatically address the issue of fuel price escalations.
We have to move away from this kind of firefighting mode. What I mean by firefighting mode is to always be in the defense. Let's be proactive. We need a paradigm shift in our energy policies that we champion. You can't continue to be over-reliant on external sources in terms of your energy needs and expect to have independence and expect to have security of fuel, security of other energy supply. No, it cannot be.
Despite this projection by the
Well, that brings us to the end of Business Daily here on 3FM 92.7. For more business stories, please log on to our website on 3news.com.